Good morning, readers. Today we're going to be working on session 8. Quests can be internal and external. So you should be in this page of your booklet. I want you to be thinking about the fantasy novels that you've been reading and even maybe any fantasy movies that you've seen. How many of you have seen the new Jumanji movie? That's something you can be thinking about during our lesson today. Or if you've seen the Harry Potter movies, or if you've seen the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the Narnia movies. All of those are some fantasy movies, which, interestingly enough, all of those are based on books. So I want you to think about how these stories go and see if you can see any patterns in the obstacles that characters face. So does a character always accomplish what they want right away? Do they stay home, or are they forced to leave? So I want you to think about those questions that are up there. How do those stories go? Do you see patterns in the obstacles? Do the characters always accomplish what they want? Do they stay at home, or are they forced to leave their home and go on some type of a quest? So if you think about that, characters usually in fantasy stories, they usually leave. They go on some type of journey, and they don't just face one problem, but they usually have a series of problems. So this is how the fantasy stories are structured. Most fantasy stories follow a quest narrative structure. This means that the hero is given a quest, which means he or she must journey to achieve something. Like in the Percy Jackson books, the first book, he has to go search for Zeus's lightning bolt. In the Paper Bag Princess story that I read to you, Elizabeth decided to go follow the dragon to rescue Harvey. In A Wrinkle in Time, Meg goes on a quest to find her dad. So today I want to teach you that experienced fantasy readers know that most fantasy stories follow a quest structure. What's most often interesting to these experienced readers then is to investigate the internal quest as well as the external quest. So let me show you what I mean. Once you know to expect a quest structure, you'll begin to see it everywhere. So sometimes the quest involves maybe rescuing a captive or a sacred object, like in Jumanji. They had to go rescue the jewel in both of them in order to save Jumanji. Or how many of you have seen Shrek? Shrek had to go rescue Princess Fiona. Elizabeth in the Paper Bag Princess had to go rescue Ronald. But other times the quest may ask the hero to destroy a villain or a dangerous object, like in Harry Potter. His ultimate goal throughout the whole 7 books is to destroy Voldemort. So they may have gotten into another world and their quest, or they may have gotten into another world and their quest is just to get out of there, like Alice in Alice in Wonderland. She was trying to get back home. Or in the Narnia books, they fall into Narnia and then are trying to get back home. So what we're going to be looking at now is you can actually map these out like a timeline. So often thinking about a quest itself is interesting, and it calls your attention to some of the smaller obstacles and gets you thinking about how the character might be connected, or how those obstacles might be connected to a character's even greater task. So it also could be interesting to look at a character's internal quest. So first of all, I want you to think about Meg, and I just mapped out some of her external goals that she had to accomplish. Like, what was her external quest? Well, her overall goal was to rescue her father. So first of all, she went to Uriel. Then they ended up going to Cosmazotz. Then they went on Cosmazotz. Charles Wallace is captured by it. Meg's able to rescue her father. And then they tessered out of there, and then she went through some physical changes again, and she had to be restored by Aunt Beast. Then she decides to go back for Charles Wallace, and she ends up rescuing Charles Wallace, and then at the very end they all return home. So she kind of has this mountainous goal with some ups and downs along her way for her quest. But I also want you to think for a minute about the obstacles that are inside Meg. What does she find hard? So we've talked all along about some struggles that she's had. So this is a map of her internal quest. So, first of all, we talked a lot about how she doesn't like herself. She questions everything, and she still doubts herself. She doesn't think she's good enough or pretty enough or smart enough. She's constantly comparing herself to other people. That's happening throughout as they are going on this external quest. I mean, that those things keep coming up over and over. She's questioning. She doesn't understand. She gets frustrated. She gets upset. And then when they finally leave Kamazatz, and they're without Charles, she's upset. And she's upset at everybody for just leaving him behind. And then she realized she's not going to give up on him. So she needs to trust herself and trust her instincts in order to rescue him. And that's essentially what ends up happening. She was able to rescue her father, and in the end she was able to rescue her little brother too. So it's really fascinating to think about both of these quests. An inexperienced reader won't even know that his or her fantasy followed a quest structure. A more experienced reader would see that structure, and an even more sophisticated reader like you could see both the internal quest as well as the external quest that the character's going on. So I'm thinking that Meg has to deal with these obstacles that are internal so that she's successful in her external quest. Does that make sense? So I wonder if that would be true for the characters that you're reading about too. So these are things that I want you to think about. Think about your main character. What is he or she trying to accomplish? Think about the external quest. And then consider that the task is not just one problem, but maybe it's not just that one big problem, but it might be a series of a lot of smaller obstacles that they have to overcome in order to overcome that big obstacle. And when you think about the internal quest, consider what is inside the character that's getting in the way. What are some problems or flaws that the character has that's getting in the way of this quest? What are some things that they have to fix or get around? What are some internal conflicts that they have to overcome, like Meg's own self-doubt, not thinking she's smart enough or good enough? So I want you to be thinking about those things. And in this page of your booklet, I want to see if you could sketch out some of those quests. See if you can come up with what would your external quest look like if you were to plot some points of this external quest, and what might the internal quest look like as you go along, and tell me what's happening in the story with your characters. So I would like for you to do that in your booklets today and then upload so I can see what's going on. Again, if you have any questions, don't forget to tell me the title of the book that you're reading. So if you're having some problems, if it's a book I've read, I can help you out with that. And as always, if you have any questions at any time, please let me know. I'm very proud of those of you who are going through these lessons because, like I said, they're hard, but they really do help you guys become more stronger readers, and it will really help you as you guys move on into middle school, as they're going to continue the reading workshop units and things with you. So these are some skills that you guys will be needing to be good, strong readers as you go on into middle school. So good luck, and let me know if you have any questions.